Om Gajananam Bhutaganati Sevitam Kapitta Jambu Palasara Pakshitam Umasutam Soka Vinasa Karanam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sadashivasamarambam Sankaracharya Madhyamam Asmat Acharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramaddanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Sarvamangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike Charanye Trayambake Gauri Narayani Namostute Om Shri Matre Namaha Om Shri Annadhaya Namaha Om Shri Vasudhaya Namaha Om Shri Sasamra Ramavani Savyadashana Sevitaja Namaha Om Shri Kataksha Gingari Bhuta Kamala Kodi Sevitaja Namaha Om Shri Shivsaktyaikya Rupinyay Namaha Om Shri Lalitambikaya Namaha Om Shri Lalitambikaya Namaha Om Shri Sri Sri Shantananta Avaduta Sadgurave Namaha Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Namah Parvati Pataye Har Har Mahadeva. Namaskarams to all. Welcome to session number 4 in the Lalitha Sahasranamam series under the Vande Vidya Shankaram program of SPBF North. In our last session number 3, we covered Stotram 22 to 33. It included Namas 55 to 83. We learned about Amba's abode, so also her divine activities, which led to the killing of Bandasura, thus fulfilling the desires of the Devas. All the deities, including Devendran, rejoiced Devi's victory, for which they prayed for Devakarya Samudjata. Today, as usual, after reciting the Dhyana Slokam, we will start with verse number 34. The very first line of the Slokam relates to the revival of Manmada, the god of love or Cupid, who was burnt by Lord Shiva. Man refers to mind, as you all know, Manas, and Mata is agitation or madness. So Manmata is one who causes agitation in our mind, especially during the teenage period. So he tried his tricks on Shiva and was burned. This story we are going to relate later on after the Dhyana Slokam. So let us see Dhyana Slokam. You can also recite as we go along. Okay. Sindhurarana Vigraham Trinayanam Manikya Spurate Taranayaka Sekaram Pitamukim Avinavakshoruham Parnibyam Alipurna Ratnasasakam Raktotpalam Bibratim Saumyam Ratnagadastha Charanam Jayet Paramambikam Arunam Karuna Tarankitachim Trisapasangkucha Pushpabana Chapam Animati Viravritam Mayukaihi Rakamittev Vibhavaye Bhavanim Jahet Padmasanastam Vikasita Padanam Jahet Padmasanastam Vikasita Padanam Padmabhadrayatakshim Hemabam Pitavastram Karakalitala Thema Padmambarangim Sarvalankara Yuktam Tatadambavetam Bhaktanam Ram Bhavanim Sri Vidyam Shantamurtim Chakras Sarvasampat Pradatrim Sa Kumkuma Vilepanam Alikuchumbi Kasturikagam Samantahati Vechanam Sasara Chapa Pashankusham Asesha Janamohinim Arunamalya Pushambaram Japa Kusuma Basuram Japa Vitos Paredam Bikam. Now we go to the verse number 34. Hara Netragni Samtakta Kama Sanjeevanaushadihi Srimad Bhagava Kutaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. Hara Netragni Sandakta Kama Sanjeeva Aushadihi. That is the very first line. What does it mean? Mean one who became, the Devi who became the life-giving medicine, Sanjeeva Aushadhi, for Kamadeva, who is Manmata, who was burnt to ashes by the Agni, Hara Netragni. Hara means Shiva. From his third eye came the Agni and he was burnt to ashes. Hara is Shiva, Netra is eye. And Ambal, she gave life to Manmata, who was burnt to ashes by the fire from Shiva's third eye. How did Devi become the life-giving medicine for Manmata? Now, there is a story behind it, which I want to tell you. There was a time when there were ferocious asuras, like Tarakusura, Surapadma. They were creating total anarchy in all the worlds. They had done so much of tapasya and they have got such boons of unlimited power that they were assured that only Parameshwara's own son could kill them. But then Parameshwara had no son at that time. He was totally engaged in meditation as Dakshinamurti. Some of you must have seen the picture or idol of Dakshinamurti. You know, he's sitting still, holding a japamalai and totally inert and actionless. In fact, there is a place called Suchindram in Tamil Nadu where the Shiva, the name is called Tanumurti. Tanu means still. Still, like a dead tree, you know, she's without any action. You don't find any life at all. So Shiva was in that kind of condition doing meditation. And Devas were really concerned how to get Ishvara involved in procreating a son. Now they were harassed by the asuras. They didn't know what to do. They could think of one solution only. So if Manmata, who is the god of love, responsible for inducing Kama, he could divert the attention of Parameshwara towards Parvati, then the birth of a son of Shiva was possible. So they engaged Manmata to show his powers on Parameshwara. The Manmata, he was bloated by arrogance and pride. He thought he could easily make Parameshwara enamored of Parvati and by his antics. So what he did was he directed the flower arrows on Parameshwara. When Parameshwara felt some movement on him, slight movement, he slightly opened the third eye and immediately fire came from the eye. In a fraction of a second, Manmata was burned to ashes. Even now, today in India, Kama Dahanam is a ritual performed in some of the South Indian states, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Karnataka. and Tamil Nadu. Around the time of Holi festival, they make an effigy of sticks and use dried cow dung and grass and burn it as a symbol of karma. And the sacred ash is given to the villages. It's called Kaman Pandika in Tamil Nadu and Kamuni Pandika in Andhra Pradesh. So obviously, this legendary story has followed thousands of years. So Manmatha, he was very proud that he was very beautiful and too good to resist. So the incident proved that bodily beauty cannot stand before the fire of knowledge. From being a Sarvanga Sundaran, all body beautiful, he became Ananga, that is without a body or nobody. You see the picture of Shiva burning Manmatha into ashes. So, on seeing her husband's loss, Manmatha's wife Rati was completely distressed and she cried before Ambal. She appealed to Ambal for reviving Manmatha. Please give me back my husband. Parvati gave her anugraha that Ananga will continue to function as a devata with duties as usual, but he will be visible only to Rati's eyes. So Devi told Manmatha, I am the one who gave you the sugarcane bow and flower and arrows. Now I am giving them back to you. Your job is to involve all the life forms in the act of procreation. Otherwise, all of them would remain celibate, and only when they take life again and again, they could progressively cross the ocean of repeated births and deaths. Otherwise, there will be stagnation and chaos. So, she said, I have given you certain powers. Thus, Devi became Sanjeeva Aushadhi, the life-giving medicine for Kamadeva, who was burnt to ashes by the Agni from Shiva's third eye. Okay, let us see the second line of the verse. Srimad Vagbhava Kutaika Swarupa Mukha Pankaja. A beautiful line. Now, earlier, we learned descriptions of Devi's sthula or physical form and her divine activities. Now, starting with the second line, we will learn about what is called Sukshma Swarupam of Ambal. It has a lot of philosophy, and some of you may find it a little difficult to understand. Let me explain as easily as possible. Sukshma is a Sanskrit word meaning subtle or dormant. The presence of Sukshma is felt but not seen. Sukshma Swarupam is inseparable from Devi's physical form. Now, the subtle Sukshma form has three divisions: subtle, subtler, and subtlest. The first representing the 15-syllable mantra called Panchadasi. Pancha means 5 and Dasa means 10. 10 plus 5, 15. The second, which is subtler, is Kamakala. And the third one is Kundalini. The first part of Panchadasi is described under three names. Srimad Vagbhava. Srimad means divine power of conferring wisdom and other exalted powers. It is the seat of Jnana Shakti. Vagbhava, that by which a person attains the power of speech. The Vagbhava Kuta, Kuta is a group, is a divine group of 5 syllables in the Panchadasi. Now, Devi's Mukha Pankaja. Mukha means face and Pankaja means lotus. Devi's lotus face, it represents the divine Vagbhava group of 5 syllables in the Panchadasi. Now, what is this Panchadasi? It is the most powerful mantra for the Upasana of Shri Lalitha Mahatripura Sundari. It is consisting of 15 syllables called Panchadasakshari. The 16th syllable is usually provided by the Guru. There is a beautiful composition of the musical trinity Muthuswami Dikshitar. It's a composition which goes like this. Panchashat Peter Rupini, Panchashat Peter Rupini, Mam Pahi Sri Raja Rajeshwari, Panchashat Peter Rupini, Panchadasakshari Pandya Kumari, Panchadasakshari Pandya Kumari, Padmanabha Sagodari Shankari, Panchadacha Arogari Shankari, Panchashat Peter Rupini. It is set in Devagandhari Ragam, one of the most beautiful compositions of Muthuswami Dikshitar. Yes, composed many on Devi, and this particular one refers to the Panchadasakshari Pandya Kumari. So the main mantra of Lalitambika is Panchadasi, which contains 15 bijas or roots. Now, this 15 is divided into 3 groups, as I said. He is called a Kuta. In Tamil, there is a Kutam, Kutam means a group of people, right? It is actually derived from the Sanskrit word Kuta. The 3 Kutas are known as Vagbhava Kuta, Madhya Kuta, and Shakti Kuta. Now, Vagbhava Kuta represents the lotus face of Devi, which I mentioned, Mukha Pankaja. Madhyama Kuta, as the name refers, Madhyama is middle portion. The portion between her neck and the hip, that's called Madhyama Kuta. And Shakti Kuta is below the hip. So the entire form of Devi is made up of these 3 Kutas. Vak, which is speech, is in 4 forms. Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari. Para means highest, Parameshwaran. It is a superlative, means highest, eternal form. Pashyanti is what people see, the saints who see it. Madhyama is when we translate a sound form or anahata, and Vaikari is the spoken form. So the general perception of people is that when we speak, the sound comes from the throat. But what actually happens is, when we have the urge or thought to speak, our life force in the form of Vayu starts from the root chakra and brings para, the subtle sound, then travels up to the navel, heart chakras as Pashyanti and Madhyama respectively. Then it comes to the throat, mouth and teeth and tongue as Vaikari, to come out as speech or sound at the gross level. When, you must have observed Pandits reciting Veda mantras, they actually bring out the sound right from the stomach region, They bring that, it has to pass through several stages before it is fully audible at the gross level. So these 4 stages are termed as Para, Pashyanti, Madhyama, and Vaikari. So let's go to the screen now, back again. We go to the next verse. Kantata Kati Paryanta Madhyakuta Swarupini Shakti Kutaika Tapanna Katyato Bhagadarini. This is verse number 35. Kantata. Kantam means neck, like Nilakantam. And Kati is waist. Kantata Kati Paryanta, from the neck to the waist. She represents Madhyakuta Swarupani. As I mentioned, she represents a Madhyakuta, a group of 6 syllables. And Madhyakuta, or the middle group of Panchadasi mantra, refers to that portion between Devi's neck and the hip. It is also called Kamaraja Kuta because Kama, to create the universe, resides in her heart, the second part of her subtle body. So it is called Kamaraja Kuta. Now, previous Nama Bhagbhava represents Jnana Shakti. Now, this name is Ichha Shakti, and the next Nama of Shakti Kuta is called Kriya Shakti. So, the next line reads, Shakti Kutaika Tapanna Katyato Bhagadarini. From the waist downwards, she represents Shakti Kuta. This is a group of 4 syllables. So, going further, let's go to the next slide. Mula Mantratmika Mula Kudatraya Kalebara Kulamritaika Rasika Kula Sanketa Parini. Mula Mantratmika. Mula means root. She is the root mantra itself. Mula is root. This is the 15 syllable mantra, which is Pantajasi. It is the root of the 4 objects of life set out for us in the Sanatana Dharma, what are called Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksham. All these are contained in the Panchadasakshari. Mantratmika. Mantra, man, tra. There are 2 words in that. Man here is repetition and tra is protection. Mantra is one which protects those who repeat it. It is declared, mantra is said to be that with increasing repetition, manana trayate, with full reflection, destroys the samsara and protects trahim. Tra is the verb for protection. In Vishnu Sahasranamam, you get that paritranaya sahaduna vinashaya dushkritam dharma samstapaya sambhava aviveke. So there, paritra is the protection here. Sadhunam, I'll protect them. So Lalitha Devi is Mahatantra, Mahamantra, Mahayantra, Mahasana. She is the greatest Tantra, Mantra, and Yantra. So the next word is Mula Kuda Traya Kalebara. Traya means 3. The 3 divisions of the root mantra form her body. We talked about the 3 kutas earlier. The outer form of Ambal has 3 kutas. The next word, most important here, which is difficult to understand, is Kula Amritaika Rasika. Kulamritaika Rasika. What it means is she has a special taste for the nectar of Kula. Now, what is this Kulamritam? Now, this requires a little detailed explanation, as we are going to see more namas which are relevant to Devi's Sukshma Rupam. Now, after describing the form of Devi in Brahmanda, Lalita Sahasranamam now proceeds to describe Devi's subtlest form, which I mentioned earlier, subtle, subtler, and subtlest, the 3rd form, called Kundalini, and its impact on the human body. The human body has got 7 chakras. You can see in the slide here. I am not sure if you're able to see it, but then you can probably see a little, sorry. You can see the slide here. I'll move it a little this side. You can see it, all the 7 chakras in the human body. Chakra means wheel. You all know. The chakras are centers of 4 shaped like a wheel located within the inner body. They are situated along the spinal column, from the base to the cranial chamber, located right in the top in the brain, Sahasrara, then medulla oblongata and the 5 spinal centers, the cervical, the dorsal, the lumbar portion, the sacral portion, and the Mooladhara, which is the coccyx. The lowest chakra at the base, it is called Mooladharam or Kulam. And the topmost is called Sahasrara or crown chakra, also called Akulam. Now, Kundalini Shakti is a divine power within every human being. It is an astonishing energy set to lay dormant and coiled like a serpent at the base of the spine. It is not a material force. It is lying dormant or sleeping in the Mooladhara chakra. And this serpent energy can be woken up from its slumber by the practice of certain special yogic postures, breathing exercises, and mantras. When it is aroused by the yogis, the Kundalini Shakti surges upwards through an invisible network of nerves, piercing through 6 lotus-like chakras. You know, it shoots like a kind of a missile. And it goes up, crossing 3 knots. They are called Granthis, Brahman, Vishnu, and Rudra Granthis, and proceeds to the Sahasrara on top of the head. It releases a wave of ecstasy. Now, through rigorous yogic practices, this Shakti can be awakened and sent up through what is called the Sushumna Nadi, which is the central path, through other chakras until it reaches the highest of chakras at the top of the head, which is Sahasrara. Of course, it is a very unique and most difficult process, but it's believed to achieve different levels of awakening and a mystical experience, producing an extremely profound transformation of consciousness. When the Kula Shakti meets the Akulam on the top, it produces a feeling of total bliss, as if Amritam is flowing. That is called Kulamritam. Kula is a Shakti and Akulam is Shiva. The nectar flowing from the Sahasrara is Kulamrita. Now, Devi enjoys the flow of Kulamritam. So, she is Kulamritaika Rasika. Now, in Soundaralagari also, this Kulamritam is supported. There's a verse 10 here. I would like to recite it for you. Sudadara Saraisi Charana Yugalanta Virgalita Hai Prapancham Sinchati Punarapi Rasamanya Makasaha Avapaswam Bhumim Vujaga Niba Madhushta Valayam Swam Atmanam Krutva Swapushi Kulakunte Kukirini. Sudadhara Sarai Charana means the streaks of Amritam, nectar streaming between your twin feet. Charana Yugalam. Charana Yugalam means the twin feet. Prapancham Sinchati. It is sprinkling blessings all over the world. Punarapi Rasamnya Masra. Again from the point of high intelligible values. Avapya Swam Bhumim. Reaching back to your place. Bhujaga Niba Madhushta Valayam. Bhujaga means snake. Bhujanga Sayana, you say about Vishnu, isn't it? It is coiling like a serpent, having 3.5 coils. Swam Atmanam Krutva Swapishi Kulakunte Kuhirini. You sleep in the hollow of Kulakunda with a hole in the middle. So Kundalini Shakti is nothing but Devi herself in dormant form, sleeping like a serpent. It is a divine power gifted by her in every human being. Our ancient belief is that there is tremendous power within us that can be unleashed through mantras and rigorous spiritual process. There are many ordinary people who are mortals but have emerged as great saints. To name just a few, Ramana Maharishi, Seshadri Swamigal, Shirdi Sai Baba, Kanchi Mahapariva, and so on. There are countless number of such Mahans who have reached that zenith of consciousness. And as you all know, the human brain is an amazing creation of God. It has more latent power than any computer. In a jiffy, you can recollect what happened some 50 years ago. It can store more information than Encyclopedia Britannica. Yet we are using a very small percentage of the power. You can trigger the brain power by pranayamam and regular practice of mantras like Lalitha Sahasranamam. The Kundalini awakening can, of course, unleash a tremendous power within one. Going further to the next word, Kula Sanketa Palini. Sanketa means secret. Now, Devi safeguards the secret of Kula. She is a protector of the secrets of Kula. Kula has got different meanings in Sanskrit. It can mean country, house, family, group, collection of things belong to the same species, tribe, body, conduct, and so on. The 1,000-petal lotus is called also Kula. Kula here refers to right conduct. Devi never allows the revealing of the secret of the scriptures to anybody. It is going only to the right conduct, to the ignorant. Kulangana, next verse, number 37. Kulangana kulandasta kaulini kulayogini akula samayandasta samayachara tatpara. Again, Kulangana kulandasta kaulini kulayogini akula samayandasta samayachara tatpara. Here, the word Kula appears several times. As I mentioned before, Kula in Sanskrit has many meanings. It is difficult to translate it correctly in English. Philosophically, it can be said to represent a unifying connectedness, the process or living entities in the world. There are 32 lotuses in the body, some facing upwards, some facing downwards. Amongst these, the Kula and Akula, there are two parts of the lotuses. So the meaning has to be really interpreted relevant to the context. Now, Bhaskaracharya, he had different interpretations to Kulangana. Kula Angana. Kula means the chaste family with good conduct. Angana means a beautiful woman. We're all proud of our lineage and our family, right? Devi is part of such a family, and women are always respected in Sanatana Dharma. Kulantasta, one who residing in the Kula, one who is established in the Kula. Kula also means scriptures. So is in the middle of sacred scriptures also. Kaulini, again belonging to Kula, because she is worshipped in every house, every place, every body, every family. Kula here means country house. She is called Kaulini because the core of the Kaula form of worship, Kula Achara, the Kaula Achara, it's a religious tradition in Tantric Shaktism and Shaivism. She is the deity of the Kaulas. She belongs to all those who worship her. So, according to Tantras, Kula means Shakti, Akula means Shiva, and the union of Kula and Akula is called Kaula. So Kaula means the essence common to both Shiva and Shakti, hence Devi is called Kaulini. This is an explanation added by Bhaskaracharya. Next is Kula Yogini. Kaula means offering worship to a chakra which is mentally inscribed in ether. She is called Kula Yogini because she is connected with the chakra through yoga. Akula Samayantastha Samayachara Tatpara. Akula is the opposite of Kula, meaning no Kula. Samayantastha means living in the Samaya. Now, what is this Samaya? Samaya is commonly explained as offering worship to a chakra in the ether of heart. That worship is desired by all the yogins of the Supreme and called Samaya. Samayachara Tatpara means devoted to the conduct of Samaya. She is the reality of the Samaya tradition of worship. Now, there are two ways of worshipping Devi. One follows the Kula Acharam or tradition, also called Kaula Acharam. Now, Acharam is given great importance in our Dharma. You may know Vishnu Sahasranamam says, Sarvagaman Achara Pratamo Parikalpita Achara Prabhu Dharma Dharmasya Padurachutaha. Sarvagaman Achara. Beginning, the Acharam came. Pratamo means first. Parikalpitaha, it was born first. Then Achara Prabhu Dharma. And Dharmasya Prabhu Achutaha. So, this Acharam is not something new, it is very, very old. So, apart from Kula Acharam, the other one is called Akula Acharam or Samaya Acharam. Samaya is also Devi's name. Sama means equality, one who attains both Shiva and Devi. She is the center of the Samaya doctrine, in which the worship is done internally through meditation and which holds Shiva Shakti as samam of equal importance in all respects. So that is the meaning of Samayachara Tatpara. Going further, let's go to the next slide. Mooladhare Nilaya Brahma Granthi Vibedini Manipuranda Rudita Vishnu Granthi Vibedini. Mooladhare Nilaya. As I mentioned before, Devi resides in the Mooladhara. Devi is believed to reside in the Mooladhara Chakra, that is as Kundalini. Brahma Granthi Vibedini. Granthi is a knot. So she is severing the knot called Brahma Granthi. Now the six chakras, each has got two knots on both sides. There are three knots. The Swadhisthana Chakra has three, including Brahma Granthi. So Devi, in her ascent from the Mooladhara, breaks through the Brahma Granthi, the barrier of Brahma to the subtle dimension, and then emerges in the Manipura Chakra, then breaks through the Vishnu Granthi, the barrier to still subtle dimensions. So she penetrates through the Brahma Granthi and enables her devotees to practice yoga, to be conscious while still awake. So with this one, we complete 100 namas of Lalita Sahasranamam. We are now going to start with the 101st nama, which is the second line. Manipurantarudita Vishnu Granthi Vibedini. Manipura Chakra is a navel part. There is a 10-petal lotus here. And while engaged in Samaya worship, Devi appears decked with gems, money. And hence this chakra is called Manipura Chakra. So when a devotee is facilitated to have a vision of Devi Manipura, further the devotee has to pierce through the Vishnu Granthi or the Vishnu knot. When the yogi becomes unconscious and this body and thoughts become irrelevant. Vishnu Granthi Vibedini, which is severing the knot called Vishnu Granthi. This is the third one. Above the Manipura is the knot Vishnu Granthi, and it breaks through that. As Vishnu resides in the Manipura is called the Vishnu Granthi. Similarly, you have the Brahma and Rudra Granthis, are so called because Brahma and Rudra reside in those centers respectively. Next verse, number 39. Agnya chakrantarasta, Agnya chakrantarasta, Rudra Granthi Vibedini, Sahasranam Bujarunda, Sudasara Vivarshini. Agnya chakrantarasta, which is between the eyebrows, there is a two-petal lotus. It is called Agnya Chakra because it is the Guru who instructs Agnya. Jnana is knowledge. Knowledge arises first in Guru and mentally attains the control chakra. Therefore, it's called Agnya. So, she is the one who resides in the center of Agnya Chakra. Rudra Granthi Vibedini, severing the knot called Rudra Granthi. Severing here means penetrating through. Bhaskar Raya actually comments here, the chakras really signify the roots and origins of the universe. It is, he's quoting the Dattatreya Samhita, 4th chapter, Mooladhara and the other chakras. The earth and chakras are indicated by the Brahma Granthi. The next two powerful and shining chakras are fire and sun. These two are indicated by the Vishnu Granthi. The shining one confers all the siddhis. The next chakras in the form of air and others are indicated Rudra Granthi, the seat of mighty benefits. So, the next word is Sahasram Bujaruda. Sahasra Ambuja. Ambuja is lotus. Sahasra is 1,000. Having ascended the 1,000-petal lotus, Sudasara Vivarshini, showering down the torrents of Amritam, ambrosia, nectar. This ambrosia comes from the moon of the pericarp of the lotus. Going further to the next slide, which is slokam number 40. Tadillasa Samaruchihi Sat Chakropari Samsita Mahashaktihi Kundalini Visatantu Taniyasi. The Kundalini is coming here again. Tadillata Samaruchihi, which means Devi is brilliant as a lightning flash. You know how lightning goes like a flash. So Devi comes as brilliant as a lightning flash. Sat Chakropari Samsita. Sat Chakram means 6 chakrams. We mentioned about the 6 chakrams, right? Devi is residing in the above 6 chakras. Sat Chakropari Samsita. Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Visuddhi, Agnya, all the 6 chakrams he recites. Mahashaktihi. Mahashaktihi means greatly attached to all festivals. The festival here is union of Shiva Shakti. Kundalini. Kundala means coil. Hence Kundalini is what is coiled. Its own form, as I mentioned, they coiled serpent. So the shining vital energy of Shiva Shakti, which is the manifestation of prana, is called Kundalini, which resides in the center of the flames of fire and Mooladhara. So she is one Mahashakti, greatly attached to this festival of union of Shiva Shakti. Visatantu Taniyasi. You know, the fiber in the lotus stalk, if you take it, it is a very fine, it is thinner than human hair. So she's fine as the fiber of the lotus stalk. The Shakti called Kundalini in the form of serpent, beautiful, fine as a light lotus fiber that resides in the Mooladhara. Visatantu Taniyasi. The next line, verse number 41. Bhavani Bhavanagamya Bhavaranya Kutarika Bhadra Priya Bhadramurtir Bhakta Saubhagya Dayini. Bhavani. Bhavani, Bhava refers to Mahadeva. As his consort, Devi is called Bhavani. Now, why Purana says? Because all beings came from Mahadeva and they subsist in water. He is the origin supporter of all beings, is called Bhava. She is Bhavani because she is the giver of life. Water. In Sahasranamam, there is a very beautiful slokam which I love to recite here. Bhavani tum dase mai vitara drishtim sa karunam iti stotum vanchan katayati bhavani tvamiti yah tadaiva tam tasmai visajinija sayujya padavim mukunda brahmendra sputamakuta nirajita padam. A beautiful verse. Bhavani means Ambal. And Lord Shiva has 8 different names, and one among them is Bhavan. Bhavan's spouse has mentioned Bhavani. Bhavani Tvam, meaning Bhavani, I am yours. Now, when the devotee says Bhavani Tvam, Ambal blesses the devotee with the high status for Bhavani Tvam, which means the status of becoming Bhavani. We normally use Dirgha Sumangali Bhava, meaning live down as Sumangali. Here in this phrase also is a verb Bhava, means to be. And Bhavani becomes, so now Bhavanitvam means I become like Bhavani. Now the devotee is blessed with the higher state of Sayujya Padavi, consciousness. He won praise to Ambal with this verse, starting the prayer as Bhavani, I am yours. So please grace me with your divine vision for a moment. The moment you say these words, Ambal will intercept with the blessing. That means you and I are not different. Both are one and the same, Advaitam. So Bhavanitvam can be different, interpreted in 2 different ways. That is mother. I am your devotee, you are my mother. In another way, you can say, mother, you and I are one and the same. So that is the beauty of Sanskrit here. At the end, what happens? Devotee gets the Parasakti's divine grace and becomes Bhavani. The beauty of this verse is that even before the devotees complete the full prayer, Ambal simply grants in the Sayujya Padavi, then and there, Tadaiva. Tadaiva means then and there. So immediate. So the Bhavani is, I am your slave, a dasa. And moment I pray, I become you. And who are you? Your lotus feet are being worshipped by Nirajanam, by the great gods, Vishnu, Brahma, and Andriya, all by the brilliant lace flowing from their divine crown, which will bestow them Sayujya Padavi. Kanchi Paramacharya has described this program very vividly. In fact, those interested may hear it in his own voice on YouTube. It's available. There is a very famous temple, Bhavani temple, Tulsapur in Maharashtra. You must have heard about it. It's very close to Solapur. Historically, this temple was built sometime in 12th century, and it is the family deity of the Bhosle royal family, and one of the 51 Shaktipitas. It is believed that Bhavani herself gave Shivaji a sword for the success in his expeditions. Okay, going further.
Mama, Namaskaram. Just to add on to that also, yes, in Sringeri Vidya Bharati Foundation and all our temples here, the 4 temples we are building, our Guruji said, our Acharya, Jagat Guru said that the consort of Chandramoulishwara is Bhavani. So all our places, it's Devi Bhavani is actually there in the temples, which is so wonderful. So when you come next time, do come on and visit. It's such a wonderful thing to see.
Very nice to hear that. Okay, okay. Bhavani, we mentioned about Bhavani, and we are now, I think its slide is slightly changed, right? Right. Bhavani Bhavanagamya. Now she is to be attained by meditation. Bhavana is a combination of intense feelings, mental perception. This has got an emotional quality. Yad bhavam tad bhavati. You become what you think. There are 2 kinds of meditation. One on the word, the sabda, and the other on the meanings, artha. The words mean here sacred words. which have to be meditated intensely, keeping in mind the meaning, so that gradually you start visualizing and merge into it. Bhavani Gamya. Bhavaranya Kutarika. Kuta means, Kutarika means axe. In Tamil, we call it as Kodari, it's also from Kota. Kuta means axe, and Kotari also means axe. What is the relevance here? Bhava Aranya. Aranya means forest. She's a woodcutter of the forest. What is this forest? She axes away the Aranya forest called Bhava, which is a bondages which entrap us in a continuous cycle of birth and death, samsara. So she is axing that and making you free from samsara. Bhadra Priya. Here is one who delights in auspiciousness. She who loves auspiciousness, Bhadra Priya. Bhadra Murti. Murti is appearance, very auspicious appearance. She is the personification of auspiciousness. Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadhike. Don't say that. She is auspiciousness. Bhakta Saubhagya Daini. She is one who confers prosperity on devotees. Bhaga here means fortune, desire, strength, effort, fame. Subhaga, Lalitha herself. Saubhagya is her quality. Bhagya is luck. She makes her devotees fortunate. Going further, let's go to slokam number 42 now, which says, from here onwards, Lalitha Sahasranamam says, how Devi is responding to bhakti or devotion. You find this Bhakti Priya, Bhakti Gamya, Bhakti Vasya, Bhayapaha, Shambhavi Sharada Radhya, Sarvani Sarmadhayini, Bhakti Priya. See the Alankaram here, exquisite beauty of verses. They don't use any conjunction like cha, tu, api and all that. As we go along, you will understand this beauty of Sanskrit here. Bhakti Priya, one who delights in devotion. What is Bhakti? Bhakti comes from the root bhaj, which means to serve unconditionally, sincere devotion. In Bhagavad Mahapurana, Prahlada tells his father Hiranyakashipu about the 9 forms of Vishnu Bhakti. Shravana, Kirtana, Sparana, Pada Sevana, Archana, Vandana, Dasya, Sakya, Atma Nivedana. So there are 9 different forms of worship. There are many kinds of bhakti, like the above which I said. All these are included in the word bhakti, Bhakti Priya, Bhakti Gamya. Bhakti Gamya is one who is to be approached with bhakti. In Bhagavad Gita, there is a slokam. Bhaktyato ananyaya sakya akam evam vido arjuna jnatum drashtum cha tattena parveshtam cha parantapa. O Arjuna, by undeviated devotion, I may be perceived and known and seen and entered in essence. O Parantapa means Arjuna. So it is the power of bhakti is mentioned here. Bhakti Vasya. Vasya means one who is controlled by devotion. Even Shiva, though independent, has become subservient to Devi only by devotion. Bhayapaha. Bhayam means fear. Paha means removing, remover of fear. We sometimes feel fear. And Puranas say that when you repeat the names of Devi, it will relieve you of that fear. My guru, often used to quote one conversation between Appaya and Nilakanta Dikshidhar. Appaya Dikshidhar asked Nilakanta, Apati kim karaniyam? When there is a calamity, what should one do? And Nilakanta Dikshidhar, Smaraniyam charana yugala ambayaha. Remember the twin lotus feet of Devi. Charana yugala, twin feet. Tat paranam kim kurute? What will that remembrance do? Brahmadenepi kinkari kurute. It makes even gods such as Brahma your servants. That is the greatness of remembering the lotus feet of Devi. This is the greatness of Bhakti. Shambhavi is the next word, which means the wife of Shambhu. Sharada Aradhya, worshipped by Sharada, Saraswati, the main deity at Sringeri temple. Sharada Aradhya. Sarvani. Shiva is called Sarva, all in his earth form. His spouse is called Sarvani. Sarmadayini, one who bestows happiness. She makes all her devotees happy. Going to verse number 43 now. Shankari, Srikari, Sadhi, Harachandra Nibanana, Shadodari, Shantimati, Niradhara, Niranjana. Shankari, Shankara has two words. Sam, which means happiness, and Kara is doer. One who does happiness is called Shankara. And Shankari is spouse, one who does good. Shankari is the wife of Shankara. Dikshatar, he sings beautifully again. I want to quote this. Shankari Samkuru Chandramukhi Akhilandeshwari Sambhavi. Shankari Samkuru Chandramukhi Akhilandeshwari Sambhavi. He says Samkari is Sankari name, Sankara's wife. Samkuru means do good. Chandramukhi, moon faced. Akhilandeshwari, Sambhavi. It also comes here, Sambhavi. It's set in beautiful Saveri Ragam. Srikari, Sri means producing success here. Sadhvi, chaste, Pativrata. Ambal is praised as Sadhvi because of her unequaled fidelity to Shiva. Saraschandra Nibanana, having a face like a spring moon, Chandramukhi. I sang that song, it says, Sankari Samkuru Chandramukhi, having a face like a spring moon. Abhirami Bhattar story I mentioned in my last lesson. Abhirami Bhattar saw the face of Devi as full moon. So when the king asked him the Tithi, he replied Paurnami, even though it was Amavasya, because he visualized Ambal as full moon. Sadodari. Sadodari is one who is slender waisted. Udari means waist, Damodaran, we call Damodaran, called Krishna. He was bound with Tambukair. Dama means Tambukair in Tamil. Rope. It was tied around the waist with rope. So he's called Damodaran. So Udari means here waist, slender waisted. Shantimati, always peaceful. Not only peaceful, she is bestowing peace on all others. So Niradhara, without any dependence, she is totally independent. Niranjana, stainless, free from any kind of stain. Anjana, Anjana, the women beautify their eyelashes with that paste, black paste, but it's called Anjana. That is a black thing. So that is a kind of stain. But Niranjana means no stain, stainless steel. So going further, the next slide, let's see. Nirlepa Nirmala Nitya Nirakara Nirakula Nirguna Nishkala Shanta Nishkama Nirupaplava. Nirlepa, lepa also, it's a kind of a polish, or impurity. In Tamil, they call lappam. She is free from all impurities, lepa, the impurity arising from karma. So, by the knowledge of Devi, one devotee becomes free from impurity. Nirmala means without any spot or blemish. Malam is dirt. Nitya is eternal. Nirakara, she is without any form. Nirakula, she who is cool without any agitation. Nirguna, without any quality. She is beyond all the three gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. This is something which is an attribute of Devi in her Sthula, Sushma Rupam, not Sthula Rupam, Sushma Rupam. Devi is without qualities and cannot be distinguished by only physical attributes. So Lalitha Sahasranamam helps to refine our qualities. Nishkala means without any parts. Shanta, again tranquil or peaceful. Ambal is described as Shanta Kumari. Nishkama, without any desire. Nirupaplava, cannot be destroyed. None of the asuras could destroy her. Durga also means the same as a fort is built indestructible. Durga means a fort. Nitya Mukta Nirvikara Nishprapancha Nirasraya Nitya Suddha Nitya Buddha Niravadya Nirantara. So this is a verse which again says about her qualities which are super quality. Nitya Mukta is ever free. Our devotees also become ever free. Nirvikara, unchanging. Nishprapancha, without any extension or expansion or accumulation. Nirasraya, without a body. Nitya Suddha, ever pure. Nitya Buddha, ever wise. Niravadya, without any blame. You know, avadya, in Tamil we call avaduru, right? Avaduru means blame. Avadya means opposite of Vadya, which is without any blame, blameless, nirantara, compact. So, with this verse number 45, we are now coming to the end of session number 4. Now, let me conclude this session with usual prayers. Sarva Mangala Mangalye Shive Sarvartha Sadike Saranye Trayambike Gauri Narajani Namostute Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Parashakti Om Shakti Om Shakti Om Swasti Pradapa Paripalayam Nyayena Markena Mahim Mahimsa Go Brahmanebhyo Swamasta Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Mangalam Guru Shri चंद्रमौलीश्वर के शक्ति गणपति शारदांबिके शंकराचार्यर के शक्ति गणपति महागणपति शारदांबिके के काल भैरव के काली दुर्गै के वीर धीर शूर हनुम मारुति चरणति के मल्लिकार्जुनर के செல்வ ஜனார்தனர் के अम्बा भवानी कंबद गणपति चंडी चामुंडी के श्री कृष्ण भगवान के श्री चक्रवासिनी के सीताराम लक्ष्मण सहित मारुति चरणति के विद्यारण्यर के विद्याशंकर के वागीश्वरी के वज्रदेग गरुड़ आंजनेयर के श्रीवल्ली देव सेना समेत सुब्रमण्यर के तुंगभद्रै के श्रृंगनिवासिनी के श्रृंगेरी पुरिயில் நிலைத்திருக்கும் எங்கள் சாரதாம்பிகை के सच्चिदानंद शिव अभिनव नृसिंह भारती के श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु सार्वभौमर के श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु विद्यातीर्थर के श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु भारती तीर्थर के श्री चंद्रशेखर भारती गुरु विदुशेखर भारती के मंगलम गुरु श्री चंद्रमौलीश्वर के शक्ति गणपति शारदांबिक शंकराचार्यर के शक्ति சக்தி கணபதி மகாகணபதி சாரதாம்பிகைக்கே சிங்கேரி புரியில் நிறைந்திருக்கும் எங்கள் சாரதாம்பிகைக்கே.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you again. Until we meet next month. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Om Shri Matre Namaha.